Fabrication. This one was invented by a writer. Not as false. It's a fake. It's fiction. It's a no way. We got you.
Nick, thanks for joining us again. We really do sincerely appreciate. It's a strange way to start an interview, but your diaper brand. We do appreciate Every Life as an awesome brand of diaper that Nick and I have worked together with, and since I have little kids, diapers are my life. And so I just want to say thank you. However, I did want to set the table here that you may have a huge market if you got into adult diapers, because there's going to be so much need for that with like half the country come November.
Yeah, in about 12 days, we may sell out. If we were in that vertical, we would not be able to produce enough.
Yes, and I mean, that's true. And I used to think that maybe that would just be for Joe Biden, but actually, it turns out it's probably for every single staff member at the Atlantic, maybe Axios, who is sort of like unquestioningly fomenting and continuing what has to just simply be one of the most egregious and easily debunked lies of the Trump presidency. But I wasn't in the room, Nick. You were. So why don't you tell me what's true, given the allegations that Donald Trump is some Hitler sycophant who, loves Hitler? Right.
Well, it is so easy to debunk that you almost don't know where to start, Benny. But as I said yesterday, first and foremost, I know the president personally. He's my friend. I know his heart, and unequivocally, it did not happen. The notion that he would have said such things or espoused such views, and somehow this would have been kept a secret for 4 to 5 years from the American people on itself is outrageous. What Goldberg and others know at the Atlantic, they know the way that White House operated and that White House worked. We would barely have meetings finished where there were internal policy or political positions being deliberated. And by the time we walked out of the meetings, they were being printed in the New York Times or Axios or the Atlantic or others. And so had the president ever come close to saying, thinking, espousing those views, promoting those ideas, it would have been a national news story instantly. So just logic tells us that it's completely phony and made up, but also their motives are clear. Why would you throw such a Hail Mary 10 days, 11 days before an election? Well, you do it because their candidate is losing, and she's losing badly. Yeah. They have nothing else to pivot to, Benny. They can't discuss the border, which they've been in charge of disastrously for 4 years, which has led to, not only fentanyl deaths, but the death of Laken Riley and many others like her. A tragic situation out in Athens, Georgia, where you have this beautiful, young, innocent young woman going to college at Augusta University, visiting friends in Athens at the University of Georgia, and was murdered by someone who not only freely walked across the southern border, but Kamala Harris's policies were welcoming millions of people like this murderer who took Laken Riley's life, unvetted, unverified. If they were arrested or prosecuted, they were immediately released back into our major cities or college universities. The people supporting Kamala Harris can't defend that. They can't defend the economy where rising inflation has crushed working families in this country, whether it's at the pump or buying bread or milk or clothes for your children. All these prices are up. So they can't talk about the economy, and they certainly can't talk about national security or foreign policy because we have a war in Eastern Europe. We have a war in the Middle East, and we're on the brink of a war in Asia, which would lead to a third world war. And that's what their policies in 3 short years, whether it's the border, the economy, or national security, they can't discuss the merits or the facts of any of those issues. And so what do you do when you're desperate 2 weeks before the election? You pull the Hitler card. And it is, I don't weigh into politics often these days. I've said very little about my time at the White House, though I'm very proud of my tenure, my relationship with the president and the senior staff, and the work that we were all able to accomplish during those 4 years. But when I read that, honestly, when I read it initially, I thought, well, we don't need to comment. It will get no attention. This is so egregious. And yet when I saw it taking over and consuming the national news media, I felt it was important, having been in the room with General Kelly and those other generals and the national security team and the economic team for those years that I was there, that entirely overlapped the time that General Kelly was there, that it's just not believable. It's an egregious lie. It didn't happen. It's patently false. There's no other way to say it. And so while I think the story has gotten a lot of attention, my view as someone who spent 15 years running Senate campaigns and gubernatorial campaigns around the country is it's got no traction with the American people. This is now the third October in a row where President Trump's on the ballot in a presidential election cycle where in two previous cycles, it had major impacts. In October of 16, he was able to overcome it. In October of 2020, he was not. This time, I don't believe it will have the desired impact. And in fact, I think it'll backfire because even their voters, I believe, will have the wisdom, at least some of their voters will have the wisdom to say, man, we must be desperate if this is what we're talking about 10 days before an election.
So, Nick, I know you're a very upstanding person, but we do our best, right, on this program to laugh at the news cycle and to laugh at the absurdity of it all. But here's this photo. Nope, need the photo back. Here's this photo of you and John Kelly, and I know you work with this homie, and I know that you guys were probably in plenty of meetings that you could never discuss and cannot talk about, and you have the dignity to simply let your work stand for itself. Yet here's this guy who, for some reason, having been brought into the inner sanctum and get Donald Trump's trust, is making up lies about the American president, the leading candidate for president, being a Hitler sycophant. Is John Kelly a liar?
Well, it's tough to question the integrity of a four-star general who, when he was active in the military, served the country admirably, and I'm forever grateful.
I'm not talking about his service, Nick.
No.
I'm not here to come for John Kelly's service.
You got to let.
What has he done on the record? Yeah.
So you've got to disaggregate the two, and I want to be clear about that because he wore the uniform, he served, and I will forever be grateful for that. However, when I read what he said, and he has not denied saying it, it was too much. It was too far. And on this, it's an absolute lie. And as painful as that is to process, working so closely with someone that at the time you have tremendous respect for him. Yeah. At the time, the President Trump had tremendous respect for him. But to wait 4 years, or in his case, 5 years and 10 days before an election,
right,
to manufacture something is inexcusable. And we all make mistakes. We all fall short. I'm not perfect. I fall short every day. In this case, it is a lie. It is patently false. It's unacceptable. And I hope he does the right thing and retract it and apologize.
I don't understand how stupid they think the American people are. As you said, and I think this is just worth reiterating, I don't like going back around the racetrack, but dude, every single time a paperclip was dropped in that White House, it was in the news, it was in CNN, it was breaking Jim Acosta, man. It was like a CNN, it was up. So they were able to keep the fact that Trump loves Hitler away from the American people for 3.5 years. For 3 years and 11 months, that was the most closely guarded secret in America. Really.
Right, and that's why, whether it's Maggie Haberman, who covered the White House more closely than anyone, Maggie Haberman would have known this within 60 seconds of the president saying it.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's also not believable because who was actually the highest ranking advisor that had the biggest impact on the Trump administration besides President Trump? Jared Kushner,
Interesting.
someone of the Jewish faith, his son-in-law, who he loves, respects, and has had a fantastic, unimpeachable relationship with. Do you think Jared Kushner would have sacrificed 4 years of his life to put together the Abraham Accords and work in partnership with his father-in-law every day, if his father-in-law were saying these things? No one would have, by the way. No one would have. But it's so absurd. The president has the opposite view of such matters. He has deep respect for the Jewish people. He's been the strongest ally of Israel in mine and your lifetime. The Abraham Accords would not have happened. He created Middle East peace, which Israel was the chief beneficiary of. Every previous president prior to him had campaigned on moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, only to backtrack to voters and the Israelis and not do it. Who did it? President Trump did it. None of the evidence, none of the facts support any of these allegations. So it's not like you've got to stretch to debunk this. From a policy standpoint, it's a lie. From a political standpoint, it's a lie. From a logical standpoint of the way information leaked out of that White House, it's obviously a lie. And then when you factor in, okay, why would you say this 12 days before an election? Oh, it's because you're losing in every swing state. It's because you can't talk about the material issues like the economy, the border, and national security, which you've been in charge of. You've had total control of for 4 years. You can't talk about any of those. So let's pull this card out. 5 years ago in American politics, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it would have been the October surprise. It would have changed the dynamics of this race. The American people are onto it. The only people this is inspiring and ginning up are those who've already decided to believe all the other lies about President Trump and his family. It's the people still repeating that somehow he was a Russian asset for 2016, something that even Jim Acosta and CNN have since said, yeah, okay, that actually didn't happen. Those are the people that would be inspired by such a ridiculous story and no one else.
Nick, I have a last closing personal question for you here, which is, and you feel free not to answer, but would you ever consider moving to Trump Heights in the Golan Heights? This is an entire neighborhood that has been dedicated to Donald Trump in Israel. There's no Bill Clinton neighborhood in Israel. There's no Joe Biden neighborhood in Israel. Know that for sure. And there's definitely no Barack Obama neighborhood in Israel.
I can't imagine why.
But Nick, you could realistically go buy a home in Trump Heights right now in the Golan Heights and go live there. Bibi Netanyahu sort of christening this new development there because of Donald Trump and his strong stance towards Israel. Yeah,
there's only one core issue with my being able to live there. There aren't enough largemouth bass and white-tailed deer in the Golan Heights to satisfy me. Otherwise, it would be a fantastic place to be. But
yeah, that's right.
I'm into hunting and fishing and loving every day, and that's probably not happening there. Otherwise, it'd be fantastic.
Nick, really briefly, man, we're a few days away. Give us the closing argument for Trump. Well, you know Trump as good as really anyone alive, quite frankly, from a political and business perspective. Give us that closing argument, man. What's going to happen in the next couple of days?
Well, we don't have to believe anything I say other than look at his record. He made America safe again. He made America strong again from a foreign policy standpoint. He made America grow again economically. I love what he's doing with this new twist of making America healthy again. But this is a person that if you just put your blinders on, Benny, and we take all the politics and rhetoric and rumors and lies and spin out of it, and you just say, let's compare what he did for 4 years versus what Kamala Harris had the opportunity to do for 4 years. Which is the country we want to raise a family in, irrespective of how you feel about the individuals. From a facts and policy standpoint, what is the country you want to raise a family in? And unequivocally, for me and my family, it's an easy choice, and it's a proud choice. He's going to do exactly what he's campaigning on doing, and we don't have to take his word for it. We can look at his last 4 years in office. He delivered on what he said he would do. And I believe in less than 2 weeks, he will win the presidency again. And come next January, he will be our president again. And that's a day I very much look forward to.
It's gonna be glorious, man. From your mouth to God's ears. And I think God's got us. I gotta be perfect. I said this at the Georgia rally 2 nights ago, man. If God was done with America, I think that Donald Trump would have eaten a bullet. But I think that the divine powers spared his life, and we are living through a spiritual moment of great reawakening right now. You can feel it. Those who are tuned in, dude, can feel the energy.
Yeah, there's something bigger going on, and I often, that's the bottom line. Is you're right about that, and I have made it a point to pray for his safety in the coming few weeks and post-election and his family. And it's easy to treat these characters almost like they're movie characters, right? Like that's not reality. When you know them and you see the impact that has on, his wife and his children, these are real people. And irrespective of the way you feel about them, I believe they're worthy of our prayers. And because it's been, to say what has happened to his family is unfair is a wild understatement with what they've withstood, and the fortitude and the strength and the courage and the commitment. And it's something I told him recently, the last time I saw him in person, that I had even more respect for him today than when I was serving with him every day in the White House. And I was proud to serve with he and the vice president and that whole team. But watching what he's endured since then, and the fact that he has not surrendered or given up, all not for himself, it would have been in his best interest, right? He much better, much happier life. He could be at Turnberry playing golf. He could be at Mar-a-Lago in Bedminster, living the life of luxury and leisure, and never dealing with a reporter again, never dealing with a debate or a voter again. And he's chosen not to. And why would he do that? Why would he do that? He's already accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish. He's doing it because he loves the country. And he's committed to working with people like Elon Musk to save the First Amendment, our freedom of speech. This is no longer, Benny, as you know, an election of Republicans and Democrats or conservatives and liberal. This is something much bigger of, are we going to accept not even socialism at this point? They're beyond that. Are we ushering in an era of Marxism and the end of freedom of speech and democracy in this country? Are we going to preserve freedom and capitalism and excellence and the American way, and preserve the Judeo-Christian values that made this country great? That's what's on the ballot. It's not Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. It's something much bigger, much more important. And I not only do I pray for that outcome in less than 2 weeks, but I'm confident of it. The last thing I would say to your listeners is Donald Trump creates a lot of momentum in elections. His base, our voters, just need to know loud and clear, momentum doesn't win elections, votes do. And we have to vote, and we have to take people with us who have never voted. And we cannot, as good as it feels right now, it's all irrelevant if we don't act on it. I'd like to point out the lengths of which I see people going to as an example of what we should all be doing. Kelly Loeffler, former senator, very successful businesswoman, unbelievable family here in Georgia, her and Jeff Sprecher. Not only have they given millions of dollars to President Trump and outside groups, Kelly Loeffler this last week, as a billionaire and former U.S. senator, you know what she's doing? She's a poll watcher. She's a poll watcher in Georgia. And so if we think that, momentum's going to win this election, no, it's not. Voting is going to win the election. And if we think that's all we can do, no, it's not. we can go, we can get certified to be poll watchers. We can ensure that we have a safe and an election of integrity. And so I just want to use that as an example of here's someone who has, much like Donald Trump, could be doing a lot of other things. She's been in DeKalb County and in Fulton County this week watching the polls.
That's servant leadership, bro. That's what we saw. I mean, like, listen, man, we put up this photo of Trump and people just go nuts. It's him serving the fries.
That's
right.
Like
this era of servant leadership. This is why I say it's spiritual. So we ain't never seen billionaires act like Elon Musk or Kelly Loeffler doing the work. We've never seen billionaires serve fries at McDonald's in an apron.
Right.
I've never seen that. It's like the little Norman Rockwell wave inside of the drive-through window. That's why I say it's spiritual, because like suddenly we're like our leaders are going back to service. Like people used to say my entire life, Nick, people would say, you've been in politics for a long time. They'd say, oh, I served the American people. No, you freaking didn't, man.
Right.
You didn't serve anyone but yourself. We know the Burisma deals. We've seen what the Bidens did.
Right.
You've served no one but you, bro. And like now we're actually seeing like people serve, and it's freaking heartwarming. It's beautiful.
Well, so I can tell you, that picture is awesome for so many reasons. Somebody that knows the president really well personally, I can tell you this. The person to his right, Donald Trump cares more about that guy, okay? Spends more time thinking about that guy than anybody writing an algorithm to trade high-frequency stocks. It's not that person's unimportant to them. If they're an American, he's going to put forth an agenda that puts them forth first. But in his mind, there are plenty of people taking care of the guys on Wall Street. Yeah. The people that he would refer to in policy deliberations, usually around free trade and bringing manufacturing back to this country, are the exact policies that affect the guy to his right. And when you watch him and observed him walk around his golf courses or his hotels, he knew the names of the people cleaning the rooms, cleaning the bathrooms, making up the beds, serving the French fries, and was proud of them and concerned about them. And that's probably the one trait that his most passionate supporters, I think, that they believe to be true. I know it to be true. I've seen it play out, and it's one of the many admirable qualities.
Yeah. Well, here's to waving goodbye to Kamala Harris, and I hope that Trump pulls one of these out the White House window. I think maybe if you push hard enough, you could open one of the windows, and Trump he has the chance to do the funniest thing, Nick.
Right.
On Inauguration Day, he has the chance to do the single funniest thing, which is to remake the meme when Kamala drives away.
It's wonderful.
Hey, God bless you, man. Really hope that I know that you don't do much of this, and so we're honored to have you on the program. It's important it's more important than ever to speak the truth. Speak it or lose it, quite frankly, to the liars. And so we appreciate you coming on, man. Everybody needs to go follow Nick, obviously. Just an absolute G. Somebody who literally helps run the diaper brand, a great Every Life diaper brand, and Public Square. It's awesome to partner with them. And dude, you can just take it to the bank. Adult diapers on Election Day. Just a thought, adult diapers on Election Day. It's a free thought, okay? You don't come to me for business ideas often, but just a free one.
I'll call Sarah Gable, our CEO, when we hang up and tell them to, build out the SKU, get them ready. She's got 10 days.
Can I invest in tissues and adult diapers? Please,
yeah, right.
For Election Day, it'll be huge. Thank you, Nick. God bless you, man.
Thanks, Benny.